job, good job. Oh, thank you. I wasn't actually sure I was speaking today, so I was sitting in the back. But just a little bit more on my background, because he touched on just a tiny bit, and I want to set everyone straight. I started out enlisted in the Marine Corps right out of high school, did my time. Then after that, I got out, used my veterans benefits, go to college, which is a good thing. Came from a state that really emphasized education. Illinois, very good educational program there. Then when I was in college, I got recruited into the Army to get commissioned as an officer, and then also into military intelligence, because at the time, tail end of the Cold War, I was studying Soviet studies, Russian studies, all that stuff, and they said, hey, we want you to, work for us. So then I got involved in the intelligence community through the Army. And so fast forward, Iraq comes along. I was serving with the 5th Special Forces. I was an intelligence officer with them. And then unfortunately, I helped plan parts of the Iraq invasion, at least the Special Forces part of it. The whole looking for WMD I'm very familiar with. And that's something that really we'll address later. And then I did multiple tours to Iraq. I'm not sure how many medals I have. I mean, they're in a drawer somewhere.
Lieutenant Colonel!
Yeah, so my last job in the military, I worked at NORAD and US NORTHCOM, worked on issues of homeland security, national defense at this level. We would look at things like pandemics, which are now in the news, and other events like with Russia and North Korea and ballistic missiles. But it's Grace, right? Okay, Grace mentioned the Patriot Act. And that's very fundamental, because working in the intelligence community, you really have learned that the Patriot Act has done the most thing to undermine our freedoms. Yeah. And you see this in the intelligence community. There's stuff I would see about average citizens doing stuff, and I'm like, why am I getting reports about this citizen? And so it's something that I would hope all presidential candidates would address, is rolling back the Patriot Act, because that has really undermined our Bill of Rights, our Constitution. I mean, I would argue that the day the Patriot Act was passed, it basically nullified our U.S. Constitution. And people don't really think of it in that realm, but there's been a bunch of whistleblowers from the intelligence community, and most of them I applaud. When you really dig into what Edward Snowden did, he did us a service by laying that out. There's been other, I'm not a big fan of WikiLeaks, because I understand, I used to track some of the stuff Julian Assange did, and I don't think he's a hero, but Chelsea Manning and what she did was the right thing. That was legitimate whistleblowing. So those are things that we have to stay on track. Now with that, I'm a big fan of the intelligence community. I worked there for 27 years. People there generally are trying to do the right thing, but like with any bureaucracy, you're given all this power and money. I'm not sure if you know this, but the intelligence community, just the unclassified dollar amount is $70 billion that they get. That's a lot of money. And it's a lot of money that's really being kind of wasted, because there's a lot of stuff we do in the intelligence community that could be radically scaled back. And again, I'm not against the intelligence community, but it needs to be reformed quite radically. And I would hope Bernie Sanders would do that and reform it, cut it back to what's just necessary to be done. And then one of my other talking points, I'm not sure if I still have time, but just, you hear these comments about how the deep state from the Trump supporters, like the intel community, is all a bunch of, radical liberals who are trying to undermine our country. And they keep pushing that talking point, but it's really, there's a lot of people in the intelligence community who support Trump, and they just are more confused by him. And so the leaks aren't really coming from the intelligence community. There's a few, but it's mostly coming from his internal administration. Now, the reason I mention this is, when Bernie's president, keep in mind, the community, as it currently stands, will turn against him. And I'll refresh everyone's memory about when President Obama was in office. There was something like 315 leaks against him from the intelligence community because they could not stand President Obama. And they were working all the time, people within it, to undermine him. So I want people in the movement to understand that they need to be aware that there's folks in DC and the Beltway who are not on your team. So that pretty much sums up my point. So anything else, Grace?